it's good to be here. This week I thought I'd tell you about another project that I've made. It's the first project that I've actually made out of a Burda magazine, and I made it out of the latest issue that I received. It's the issue 8 for 2021, and the pattern that I did was pattern 121. I will show you a picture in the inset of what it looks like. If you've ever sewn a Burda pattern before from the BurdaStyle magazine, you will probably know that they expect you to have a level of knowledge about what you're going to sew. So for example, the Burda project that I did didn't have detailed information on how to sew the collar or the cuffs or even the vents. These vents over here were actually a new style for me. The last shirt, which was the first pair of cuffs that I'd sewn, was actually a completely different method. Anyway, I had a trusty reference book that was gifted to me by my father. It's this book here, and it turns out its year of publishing is 1975, so it's going back a few years. It's still got very relevant information in it, and I'll see if I can actually find what the latest edition is of that, because it's really good. So as you know, if you've been following my channel, you'll know that I'm actually quite a beginner. I've only sewn a couple of shirts, this probably now being my third shirt. This project I wanted to try because I wanted to try sewing with viscose. I've never sewn with viscose before, and as you've seen from the inset, the back of this shirt is actually made of a pleated viscose panel. Viscose I find moves around a bit when you're sewing it, but it actually wasn't as bad as I expected. Certainly nothing like chiffon or one of those. I'm glad I picked this project. I think I've managed to develop my confidence in sewing collars and sewing cuffs, and I think I will definitely be doing more cuffed and collared shirts. Burda rates this project as a 3 out of 4. I don't think this project's actually that difficult considering it's a standard shirt. The only thing that I found was a little bit time consuming was trying to get the pleats to work for the viscose at the back. Viscose tends to move around a little bit more than chambray, which as you know is an easy to sew fabric, but once you're careful with it and you pin everything properly, it's actually quite easy to work with. Something I did discover about viscose is if you iron it with a hot iron and you put the steam on it, it tends to crinkle up. It actually appears to shrivel while you're actually working with it. No heat, but a dry heat, because the wet definitely works against you when you're trying to get the creases out. For this shirt, I got the chambray from A&M Textiles, and I also got the lovely viscose from A&M Textiles. I will definitely be buying more of their viscose. I was really happy with it. I actually bought this viscose more on an impulse because it was actually on their end of line rail where they sell the end of the bolts. I'm very happy with it, and I actually bought some more. I might actually make a scarf that will go with this outfit when I put it together with something. I also wanted to tell you about the next project that I have in mind. I know we're coming up for late summer. I'm really hoping we'll have some lovely hot days, but if they don't come, I'll still be able to wear this next year. So the next project that I've got lined up is this lovely set of dungarees, and I'm wanting to do it in a floral design. Many years ago I actually had a small set of dungarees very similar to this with a lovely floral pattern on it. They were so comfortable, I actually wore them till they were not worth wearing anymore. So this is the fabric that I've bought. It's a chambray as well, print, and I bought this from A&M Textiles in High Wycombe as well. I don't actually have an affiliate with A&M Textiles, but I really do like their products, and their pricing is actually not bad when compared to online retailers. So I just wanted to talk through briefly what the description was for sewing the vents for this. I will put a picture in the inset here and I will explain to you. So the whole principle on this type of vent is that instead of it being on the seam on the end of the sleeve, as you can see this one is not, the seam is on the other side over here. This vent over here requires you to actually slash the end of the sleeve, and on the pattern it appears like a straight line on the end between the pleats. So from the McCall's book, their method of doing it is you stitch as close as you can to the part that you're going to actually cut, and you actually sew all the way up, around, over the top of the cutting area, and then you sew down parallel to the slash all the way down the other side. And the idea is that it behaves like a stay stitch. So because this vent here is sewn on like bias binding, where you actually have to sew, the small strip right side facing right side and then fold it in and sew it over, you have to actually stretch the slashed portion out straight. And chambray, being quite a fragile fabric, is actually it actually needs some stay stitching. So by stay stitching the vent before, you can actually lay it out flat, and you can do this bias binding detail for the vent. The other thing, which is not actually explained in the book, either in the McCall's book or even in the actual Burda, is how are you supposed to fold the vent in. So if I could show you here. So this vent is made by putting effectively a bias binding sewn straight along like this. And a small thing that I did, and only because I thought it would look nicer, is I actually sewed this in and I turned it over when I caught it in the back of sewing the cuff, so that the idea is when the cuff is closed that they actually go over like this. I don't know if you can actually see. So it produces a much, sorry about the lighting, it's really bad. I'm in the loft here and the lighting is awful at the best of times. So the whole principle behind it is that, as you can see, it will lie flat, and that little detail actually will be hidden once the whole lot is buttoned shut. I think you can see over there. So that's something to remember. Another thing that is really worth doing when you're looking at sewing a product, or a project should I say, you should actually have a look through the instructions and make sure that you understand exactly what the instructions are asking you to do. Only because there are some patterns which don't give you all of the information, and when I say that, I mean if you're an experienced sewer, you probably know what to do, and you probably just use the instructions in the envelope just as a guide to sort of remember what the next step is. But if you're a beginner like me, you need a little bit more explaining, and sometimes the vent details on some of the patterns, especially if you buy patterns on eBay or Amazon and they're older patterns, they might use the older methods to actually assemble the garments. So definitely have a look through the instructions, make sure you understand what is being asked, and if you need to, consult with YouTube, look at old reference books like my old reference book here, and sometimes even some of the newer books. Tilly and the Buttons is a good one, although I don't know if she's got this specific detail, but in respect of assembling a lot of garments, her books are very good in that respect. That is all I have for you today. I hope you liked my top, and I hope you have the confidence to choose to sew Burda if that's what you'd like to do, considering that they don't necessarily have all of the instructions. I'll actually show you a small inset here, and I'll show you exactly what instructions were provided with this top over here, and also I will put a link down in the description at the base over here, and I will show you where you can actually buy this pattern as a standalone with an envelope from the Burda website if you want to sew this too. I hope you liked my video. Please subscribe and give me a like. Also, please visit me on Sew and Everything Else. You can find me on Google, or you can find me in the link in the description below. Thank you. Until next time. Bye.